well, I didn't plan to film today, but there was something that happened that I think is very important to discuss, microaggressions. Now, it may not seem like the biggest thing ever. Because of that, people are not thinking it's very important. People don't really know what it is or why it matters. Basically, it's like the passive-aggressive form of racism and just discrimination. So basically what happened today is that I was at the gym, I was sitting back and thighs, and I was working my lower back. If you do it wrong, you'll most likely be working your butt instead of your lower back. But I've been doing this for many years, and so I know mind muscle connection and the technique of it. And I was about to finish my rep until an older man came up to me and told me how to work my lower back, and talking about the distance between my hips and the pads and whatnot. And I knew I was already doing it right, so I was just politely saying like, okay, yeah, I get you. And then right after me, he gives me a little look and he says, "Entiendes?" Now, if you're, not gonna lie, if you're white or are a person that has never had a microaggression done onto you, the problem with it is that it is either a subconscious or an active belief that the person you're talking to is beneath you or is lesser than you. So the reason why that was a microaggression is that he didn't think I understood English. He thought that I only spoke Spanish and that I wasn't fluent in English. I'm bilingual. But yeah, he didn't ask me if I didn't know how to speak English and stuff like that. He just assumed, and he gave me a very aggressive "entiendes." And to my people thinking it's like, oh, it's just a mistake or something like that. It may have been, but it still matters. It is a belief that because I am brown, I am Mexican, that I am inferior and I need automatically help, like kind of in a sense the white savior moment. Another example of microaggression, something my brother went through, is he's a very smart person, top of his class. He got all the jobs because he worked so hard. But earlier in his school, in elementary school, middle school, he was doing really well in class. And then there's a student of his, not a student of his, classmate, he went up to him and said, "You're the smartest Mexican I know." Now, why is that a problem? That is assuming or thinking that most Mexicans aren't smart. And so that is why he places the emphasis. It's like, oh, you're a really smart one. You're one of the good ones. Now you see the problem here. It's like saying someone who uses a lot of slang. Like me, I like to use a lot of slang. If they told me, or for example, like a black person, it's like, you're the most eloquent one I know. Whoa there, what do you mean by that? Because it's again assuming that we're a monolith, that we're all the same, like because like that white person is only seeing like black people in movies, or think everyone's hood, or that Mexicans, none of them speak English because we're from Mexico. They just take it an assumption, and even when they're trying to help, they still have that subconscious belief that we're inferior and that we need that help automatically. See, now you understand why it is a passive-aggressive form of racism. And it's something that, of course, takes deprogramming. For example, like still happening now, that not all Jewish people are Zionists, because sadly for entire generations of people, they've been taught that Israel represents all Jewish people, and that they're the same identity, when it's not. It's like saying all Germans are Nazis. Same thing, potato. And yeah, it's important to try to deprogram yourself. And of course, it's not going to happen in an instant, but it is a step that we must all take. Especially, I have to be honest, my white friends, my people of fair tone, because you haven't had that experience of being seen lesser than. You haven't been through systemic racism. You haven't had family members die through lynchings. You haven't had the thought of ICE people. Like for me, like if ICE were to stop me, I could die. Like that's a very high chance. Or if like a black person, if a police person pulled them over, they have the fear of dying because it's very real. There's still like if you guys don't know, police officers and just law enforcement generally came from slave catchers. That was the first form of policing. When slaves would run away, they need someone to go catch them and bring them back to the plantation. And it is still very prevalent. There are various police stations that still have white Klansman robes. It's insane. And we're told the lie that as long as you follow the law, you don't have anything to worry about. That's a lie. Alex Preddy, Nicole Goodman, the countless of black people that have been killed by police. And MLK, when he was doing his peaceful protest, the police killed countless of his supporters. And yeah, that is the truth you have to bring yourself to realize. Just because it didn't affect you doesn't mean it's real. Just because the police officers come up to you and say hello doesn't mean they do it to other people. That's why my fair-skinned people and white-passing people and just white people in general, you guys have to come to that realization. And of course, with the Great Awakening, seeing how, like in the Epstein files, that affects you too, or with capitalism, especially late term, how AI centers are taking away homes in, like for example, Texas, Michigan, Oklahoma, and all that. You guys are finally getting a snippet of what people of color have gone through. You're finally understanding because it is happening to you. And that is because of privilege. Your privilege has finally got running out. The capitalists in the system have finally said, I want more money, and I don't care if they're my own people, my own white friends and family. Well, not friends and family, just white people in general. I want that money, so I won't infringe on their rights. This is just a snippet of what people of color have gone through. You guys, I cannot understand, for example, the trauma, the absolute monstrosities that the black community has gone through, the queer community has gone through. Like when you see in the Epstein files that they've been eating children because it's a symbol of power. It makes them feel powerful to be able to do whatever they want. That's been happening to black people since slavery or before slavery. There is a book called The Delectable Negro, where to assert their dominance, to feel superior, they would treat black people like animals and they would chop them up and eat them. Cannibalism. This didn't start with the Epstein files. It didn't. The only reason you didn't know is because the United States of America and other Western countries have destroyed real history. Why do you think the Trump administration has been erasing black museums and statues and whatnot, and have been trying to keep Confederate statues? Why do you think Charlie Kirk was whitewashed? Why do you think Lindsey Graham was whitewashed? Why do you think Israel paid Google to delete millions upon millions of searches of Zionism, to erase history? So when the new generation comes in and they look back, the only sources they see are the ones provided by their government, and say, see, it wasn't that bad. They only go through the slight things that are very obvious, like that slavery existed. But they don't tell you about the absolute monstrosities. Like, for example, George Washington, he had his teeth went away because didn't brush his teeth. He's a loser. But he gathered the teeth of his slaves, he took them out, ripped them out, and formed dentures out of them. That is horrifying. That is disgusting. And also in Belgium and France and other Western countries, they would literally have something called human zoos, when they would have Africans, black people, and put them in enclosures, and then the white people would look at them as if they were animals. You could not understand that if you're white, if you're even me, like Mexican, Latino, because your people have not gone through that. That is why I fight. That is why so many leftists fight for people of color, for everyone, because of empathy. I put my the reason I went onto the FIFA stadium in front of billions that I knew, in front of billions and camera and whatnot, and I did it because even though there was ICE people and I could lose my life, I knew I could lose my life, but I did it because I know Palestinians are going through the same atrocities. Israeli people have raped them. They've made their dogs rape them. They organ harvest them, definitely without anesthesia. That is why you see Israeli and Israel have record numbers of organ donations and have barely 1% of them be Jewish Israelis. Why do you think that is? They steal it from Palestinians because, again, their system teaches them as they grow up that Palestinians are animals, that they're terrorists, that they just want to kill them. That is why you would see, like in Hamza's Omigos, why they said, "Death to you, fuck you." Like even the children, they are taught with absolute hatred. It is a disgusting system, and that is why there can only be one state. That is why there can only be one state, and that is Palestine. To let Israel live is to let Nazi Germany live. Plain and fucking simple. And if you guys even didn't know, it's very literal. Because you know where Nazis got book burnings from? From Zionists. Max Nordau's book, Degenerates. It talks about how the Goyim and their books and their art is detestable and it should be burned. It should be erased. It's absolute garbage. And you could even search it up right now. That is where Nazis got their book burnings from. And when Israel got formed, you know how Operation Paperclip, that the United States got Nazis to help them build the rockets for the space race? They got Nazis to go into their government. You can see countless Israeli officials hire Nazis, bring in Nazis. And you know why? Because they didn't care. In Nazi Germany, all Jewish people, except for Zionists, boycotted Nazis. But because Zionists had the intent of wanting that Israel, that promised land that they wanted to manufacture, they started working with Nazis like, yo, we'll keep buying your shit. In return, you help us get our promised land. I forget other deals, but yeah, Zionists don't care for Judaism. They just care about their own supremacy. And I know that got very off topic, but actually no, it's not off topic, because it is the context and history of why microaggressions matter. Everything that happens has history behind it. October 7th didn't happen in a vacuum. That is because there's an apartheid and genocide of basically almost 100 years that led up to it. You cannot understand why Palestinian children ended up becoming suicide bombers. It is all that pain, all that hatred, all that loss that made them do it, and I don't blame them. And if you went, oh, what, how dare you? Why are you blaming me? Why are you getting mad at me or Palestinians? Get mad at the fucking Israelis. They're the ones that made this happen. Without Israel, there would be no Hamas. Without Israel, there would be no Hezbollah. Hamas, Hezbollah, all those organizations, they rose up because there was no one there to fight for Palestinians, for the people in the Middle East against Israel. Don't believe the fucking legacy media lies that Hamas and Hezbollah are only there because they hate Jewish people. No. They are there because Israel took their land and started killing them. Don't believe that bullshit. Ask my favorite question again, like I covered in my last video. Why? Whenever you see something happen, ask why. Don't just get mad, don't get pissed at the people committing those things. Ask why. Why? There's always history. There's always context. Now for me, microaggressions, I don't pay much attention to them because I have self-confidence in my ability. I am 10 toes down in this bitch. That's why I risked my life at SoFi Stadium protesting for Palestinians. That's why I risked my life, because I am empathetic, and I realized that even when fear got to me, that I could have backed out. Palestinians don't get that option. They don't get to turn off whether they get killed or not by Israel. Over there, death is more common than food. Many of them think, not if I die, but when. You don't know how that feels like until you truly put yourself in their shoes, until you start crying, start bawling, because it is an absolutely detestable feeling. Absolutely detestable. And that is a history and context of microaggressions and why that matters. Even if it's small right now, that is history leading up to it. You know, that's it for this video. That's what I wanted to bring to light. Yeah, educate yourself. Education is not learning fucking y mx plus b, all that math bullshit you never learn. It is learning how to question, how to navigate through life, how to be able to think for yourself and not simply follow the BS like Fox News, the news that Trump tells you, CNN, all that bullshit. It's being able to not be propagandized. That is true education. Yeah. I got very passionate because I love standing up for people. I need to stand up for people. I think that is why I'm an actor, why I'm a filmmaker. I want to make stories that bring people together and make love win over hatred. Also, another thing I wanted to bring up, microaggressions, as you guys have seen in the World Cup stuff, like they see all of the flags and all the banners and whatnot, and why people cut down the Israeli flag. That is, holding it up is a microaggression. Because if you don't think it's a bad thing, or it's like, oh, it doesn't matter that much. Well, I know where you would have done in the 1940s if it was a Nazi flag. You would have kept it up. That is the truth. No, now you get defensive. Oh, so it's only when it's blatantly wrong in society, when you've been told that it's wrong. That's when you realize, really? Damn, that is crazy. You can't think for yourself. You're not educated. You don't stand up for other people until the comparison of the definition of hatred is brought up. The Nazi Germany. That is what Israel is right now. So yeah, if you still have Israel flags up, cut that shit down. That is holding up the Nazi flag. Plain and simple. History doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. If it had to be the Nazi flag up for you to cut it down, you're a fucking sheep, dude. Holy shit. Get educated. It's fucking 2026. There's no excuse. Same with if a Zionist gets mad that someone is brown or has a Palestinian flag and up. Be 10 toes down. Tell them to go fuck themselves. Because that's literally telling them, I am angry at them because they have an identity, because they are themselves. And their existence is political. Come on. Be 10 toes down at the very minimum. Go tell Zionists go fuck themselves. Cut down that Israeli flag. Because it is the Nazi Germany of today. Okay. Now that I'm done with that. Now is the end of the video. It's a beautiful day out. Go to nature. Get that sunlight. Don't be stuck in your room. Don't let that doomerism come at you. Go socialize. Go connect with other people. Connect in politics. We are social animals. We need it. We need it. That's the end of the video. Free Palestine, forever and always. The revolution starts in the mind. Goodbye.